Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning. I've got my coffee, and before I start work and before my team arrives, I just want to share some really important information with you guys about common pitfalls that you can fall into as a new leader. I wish I had had a video like this when I got my first leadership position. My first leadership position, I went from having like a half a direct report to 13 direct reports. I was the second youngest person in that organization, and most people there had more experience than me in that environment. So there were temptations that I felt, and I've also seen other people succumb to these pitfalls. So here we go. I'm going to go over 5 really important things to avoid as a new leader, pitfalls that you could fall into, or traps that you could fall into, and how to avoid them. All right, number 1, and this is maybe the most important one, don't be afraid of your team. I know, for me as an experienced supervisor, this kind of sounds crazy. Like, why would you be afraid of your team? But if you are a new leader, you're uncertain and insecure about your leadership because you've never done it before, there is a real temptation that on a certain level, you're going to experience some kind of anxiety and even fear about presenting yourself as the new leader and supervisor to these individuals. I experienced that a little bit in my first leadership role, again, because I was the second youngest person there. Most people had way more experience than me. And so there was a little bit of fear and trepidation. There's definitely like imposter syndrome. You need to avoid this feeling as much as you can in your first leadership position. Because here's the truth, the organization has chosen you to be the leader over this team. And those team members who are part of this organization will respect that. Most of them will respect that. They probably have fewer doubts about you than you have yourself coming into this position. I always say it's the 80-20 rule, right? So when you come on your new team, 80% of them will probably think that you're great and have high expectations for you and think that you're going to be a great leader. And 20% might be doubters. And that's just human nature. You're going to always have that in any group of people. But for the most part, your team members are going to support you initially, unless you give them reason not to, and they're going to believe in you as a leader. All right, so don't be afraid of your team. Really important. Tip number 2, and this one's also super, super critical, and this is a big pitfall that is kind of subtle that I have seen people fall into, and this can derail your leadership journey and your career, quite frankly, and that is don't emulate a bad leader. Now, why would you do that? Why would you emulate a bad leader? Because like in number 1, you come in, you don't know what you're doing, you think, okay, what is it to be a leader? And you don't have any experience doing this, you're afraid that you might make a mistake, and so in order to kind of take charge, you might unwittingly, right, on a subconscious level, you might think of something like Michael Corleone from The Godfather, right? So you're now unwittingly emulating bad behavior of bad leaders because you saw it in a movie, or you think that being a leader is being a certain way. And here's the thing, this is the real trap in this one, right? If you take on kind of the leadership persona of a bad leader, your team, again, the 80-20 rule, 80% of them, they're going to put out for you anyway. And they're going to follow you even if you're not being a good leader and maybe even treating them poorly, because people typically want to do a good job. They want to please you as their leader. They want to make sure that you approve of their work. So even if you're being a bad leader, you're still going to get good results. And because you were anxious and fearful before, and you took on this bad leadership style, you're going to get, it's like a positive feedback loop. Okay, you're going to see that it's working because these people, even if you had been a good leader or a bad leader, they probably would have tried hard anyway. And so then you start to believe that it's because of your persona that you've taken on, this bad leadership style or this bad leadership example. You think it's because of that. And this can lead to a decade, 15 years of like lost potential in your career, because really you're just a bad leader and you have good team members, all right? And also people like this in organizations may tend to experience some success in their career, But ultimately, it will be your downfall. I had a supervisor just like this. He had reached a certain level, which was quite high within the organization, and he could not make it to the next level because he was an a-hole. Nobody liked him, nobody liked to work for him. But see, that sort of like cutthroat, say what everybody else is thinking, but nobody else wants to say in the meeting, that kind of personality can get you up through the initial ranks, but you'll never achieve like senior leadership positions if you're a jerk, if you're in a good organization. So don't emulate bad leaders. That's really important. Number 3 is super obvious. But again, if you're uncertain, insecure, don't know how to be a leader, this one is really important. And that is, don't be something that you're not. Don't try to be something that you're not. If you're not a great leader, don't pretend like you're a great leader. People, again, will give you the benefit of the doubt. The organization has decided that you are now the supervisor of this team. You are the leader, and they will, for the most part, buy into that at the beginning. They're not expecting you to be, the best leader in the organization. They just want you to be consistent and authentic. So don't be something that you're not. Now, if you want to become a better leader, I suggest that you click subscribe to this channel, and that is your leadership task right now. Click subscribe to this channel, consume these videos, which are all about helping you become a better leader and helping you avoid pitfalls like this, so that you can fast track your career and get better results more quickly, instead of making mistakes that other people have made and mistakes that I've made. All right, so again, number 3, don't be something that you're not. If you want to put this positively, be authentic. No matter what leadership style you develop for yourself over the years by consuming all of my videos and subscribing to this channel, it will always be a reflection of who you are. You will change your way of being at work, your communication style, all of those things will change over time, but it always has to be coming from your center. It needs to be you. And that's why leadership is difficult to describe and difficult to study and even difficult to explain to people, because it's really a very personal thing. Becoming a leader is a personal journey that you need to take for yourself. And the end product will look like you, right? Just you as a leader. Okay, number 4, this one is really important. This is a hard lesson that I learned. It's gonna sound crazy. Don't trust your team members. Okay, it does sound crazy. I mean, really, you should trust your team members, shouldn't you? But my point here is, your team members are going to have tasks assigned to them. You're going to have weekly meetings with these individuals, or bi-weekly perhaps. You're going to ask them in those meetings, how is it going with this task that you are working on? If they just say great, it's going great, don't leave it at that. You need to not trust them, is my point. You need to go and look and see what they're actually doing. So when they say, great, it's going great, boss, this task is amazing. Okay, show me what you've done recently and show me the problems that you've encountered and what needs to happen next. It's only by doing that that you're going to succeed as a leader. You cannot trust your teammates when they tell you that they're doing a great job and that they're getting the job done. You need to go and look for yourself. And this isn't about, I'm saying this sort of tongue in cheek. It's not about not trusting your teammates. It's about protecting them, because this can, if you have a culture where it's enough to just report to you and say that everything's great without showing you actual data and actual, performance on the task, people over time, you're going to find a few people within your organization that will understand that there are no consequences. So they'll just tell you what you want to hear, and they won't actually be doing everything that you're expecting of them, okay? So you can fall into some really serious problems with this, because once something breaks, somebody comes in and looks at your team that you're leading, and they see that there's a lot of things that are only being done 75%, 80% effectively, you could lose your job as a supervisor for sure, and other people could also lose their jobs. So this is really, really critical. You cannot trust your team members. And what I mean by that is you need to go and check and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and that they're doing it to the standard that you expect. This is super important. Tip number 5, don't work as you did before. Whatever it was that you were doing, you were pretty good at it, because this organization now, or a new organization that you just got hired into, They believe enough in your work and your competency that they're putting you in a supervisory position. But if you were an accountant before and you were really good at that, and all of your the work that you did was highly accurate, on time, very precise, it was just amazing work, those skill sets are not the same as leading accountants. This is a really, really important pitfall that you can fall into, and that is relying on your strengths, which at this point is being an accountant. Your strengths are not being a leader. It's relying too much on those strengths and falling back to those things that you feel comfortable doing. That's what this channel is all about. It's bringing you from being like a great worker to being a great leader. And so you need to spend lots of time figuring out for yourself who you are as a leader. And you can't do that by continuing to do what you did before. Now that you're a leader, you must change and adapt and grow into a new role so that your team will be successful. Okay, those are my tips or my pitfalls, common pitfalls that new leaders can fall into. Is there something here that I've left out? Is there something here that you fell trapped to? Is there something here that you as a young leader succumbed to, some temptation, some pitfall that you experienced as a new leader, or that you've seen in other people that I've left out? Please leave that comment in the comments below. Again, this channel is a community. We are going to help each other to become better leaders. Okay, I can hear my team arriving out there, so I need to get back to work, and I wish all of you a great week. Have an amazing week, and stay warm and stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.